Hey everyone, what up? This is Chef, New Zealand Red Rum podcast, coming to you live from Greymouth. Anyway, check this out. There's a cool clock tower. Yeah. See that bank? Well, that's the old BNZ in Greymouth. It's now an art gallery. It's no longer a bank, but that's what it was. Alright, we're doing something a bit different today. We've got a podcast here that I'm chopping into half. I'm gonna do half now, and then we're going to go for a little drive. It's going to be mean. The thing about these New Zealand crime podcasts, well, there's less information available because New Zealand just has less media, less journalists reporting these crimes. That's why my show is sometimes quite short, because there just isn't a lot of information on these old cases especially. Sometimes I'll discuss theories, etc., but I'm not going to make stuff up to make a video longer. That's whack. These are real stories. Real lives were affected. Some were ended. And New Zealand Red Rum podcast respects the mana of people, past and present. That's why I tell these stories. This podcast is educational, not to disrespect the victims or Frederick William Eggers, the Australian bloke who would later be found guilty and hanged for this dreadful crime. But what happened? Well, let's go back in time. Runanga, 1917, the miners' payroll robbery, another South Island case, New Zealand Red Rum podcast. All information is taken from dispatch.co.nz article, Tragedy and Murder Mystery at Runanga 1917. Also, an article in the Grey Star, Robbery Murder 100 Years Ago Today, November the 9th, 2017. I did read some other articles as well, but those are the main two. Alright, check it out. Frederick William Eggers was 35 when he robbed the miners' payroll 7 kilometres north of the town of Greymouth on the West Coast Road at the last corner before Runanga. A few years prior, he spent a short time in the military before deserting the day he was supposed to set sail for World War I. And before that, well, Frederick William Eggers served 2 years in prison in Australia for forgery. He often went by an assumed name, William McMahon, which he got from his then girlfriend, a girl he was seeing in Christchurch. This crime was originally going to take place on October the 25th. That's 2 weeks before the 9th of November, the actual date of the robbery. But Frederick Eggers' plans would be thwarted by a well-meaning farmer. See, the villain rolled out a log out from the bush, blocking the road, only to lay in wait and watch this farmer roll it off the road again. The farmer had no idea he was being watched. Also, he did not see the intent, believing the log to have been a harmless prank. I mean, I say harmless, it was in the middle of the road, but you got to remember cars went a lot slower back then. I'm not sure exactly what these blokes were driving, but, imagine something like a Model T Ford, a really old school looking car, It would have been a nice car. I mean, boss of the mining company's riding in it. But, they didn't go that fast anyway. Now Frederick had to wait for the next payday. John Colton was driving north on the West Coast Road. With him was William Hall, the paymaster, and the mine's manager, Isaac James. They were almost at their destination when suddenly the road was blocked by a large wooden box and a ladder. James Colton jumped out to shift the obstacles out the way. Everyone hands up! Bang, bang! Anyway, we're going to cut it there for a moment. Hold the story, hold the press, and we're going to go for a drive. Alright people, hold tight for a moment. Alrighty, let's get this fixed on there good. It's going to stay on for the whole drive. Maybe 2 bits of tape would do it. Anyway, I'm going to tell you a bit about my podcast. You guys are my loyal fans. You're watching my show. Thank you. This show was started on a shoestring budget. Right now I'm filming on a $200 smartphone. I mean, it's a good smartphone. There's nothing wrong with it. But I'm just saying. Also, I could have some kind of mount for my car to mount it like the proper camera, but nah, we're just using duct tape. But that's cool. I'm cool with that. In the future, I might get some more, equipment. But at the moment, I'm just doing one-take videos. I don't even have a computer with any editing software. They're quite difficult, because sometimes you go to film it and, I don't know, it just doesn't quite go to plan, so you do it again. But that's okay. Sometimes in life, it's better just to do what you can with what you've got, rather than wait for things to be perfect. Alrighty, that looks good. Let's take a ride. Alrighty, boom, boom, boom. Alrighty, well, we're driving through the town of Greymouth right now. For those of you who've never been here, it's a pretty cool little town. It's not bad. It would have looked a bit differently back in 1917, of course, but probably not that differently. A little bit less bright lights, but you know. I imagine the train station was still in the same place. Although the train would have been a bigger deal back then, more people would have been on it. Yeah, these days it's just a few tourists coming over from Christchurch, but back in the day it was all, the train was the big thing, the future, it was like, wow, the train. But anyway, let's take a ride. Yeah, so the guys would have driven up here. They would have driven over the Cobden Bridge. Of course, it would have been the old Cobden Bridge, which is actually a little bit further down, but alright, gotta get away, drive safely, people. But you get the picture. This is what they seen, and they had no idea that they were about to be in an awful robbery, high-profile murder. It's actually more like a double murder and one attempt murder, really, but the bloke who did the crime only got done for one murder and two attempt murders, because that was, what the law was like back then. Frederick Eggers, eh? This was his grand plan to, I don't know what the plan was to do with the money, but, this was his grand plan to get rich, without having to actually work for it. Just, rob the payroll coach. Yeah, it's pretty bad, because, these people got killed over a bit of money. It was actually quite a lot of money. It was £3,659 back then, which is actually still worth robbing somebody of. So back then, imagine how much that was worth. Would have been worth a bob. I'm not even sure, but you would have been able to buy, I don't know, a couple of houses or something. I mean, my family came here on the New Zealand company, and that was £1 a ticket. Although that was apparently quite cheap, but anyway, the point is, a pound back then was worth a lot, you know what I mean? 3,659 pounds. It's money worth killing someone over, put it that way. Yeah. Classic West Coast day today. We got some bit of rain. Rain's coming in. Yep, and this is the last drive they'd ever take, the last ride they'd ever take. Imagine all these hard-working miners up here down coal mines waiting to get paid. I mean, obviously they weren't the real victims, but I mean, still, that's pretty bad. They're waiting to get their money, and then, you know, their boss ends up getting killed, and the driver of the car gets killed, another bloke gets shot, the money doesn't arrive. It's like, oh my god, you know? And they're just trying to earn a living, so... Wow, it's all pretty crazy, you know? It's all pretty crazy. Apparently there was a bit of highwayman stuff going on back then. Yeah. But this is definitely a very high-profile case. Frederick William Eggers was the most wanted man in New Zealand for about a week after he committed this robbery. And he was a pretty successful robber, having actually gotten away with it for a week. I mean, you know, he wouldn't get away with it. He did get caught, but he did do a successful robbery. He overpowered 3 people with a firearm, took the money, ran, got away. I mean, you know, you can't really say that he... I mean, he was good at what he did, you know what I mean? These guys, you know, had for their lives before they were cut short, you know, like, did they have families who loved them? I mean, of course they did, and, you know, what were their plans for the future? You know, because someone wanted their money and decided, hey, let's just bump them off and take it. I mean, in 1917, the road wouldn't have really looked like this. It would have looked a lot like this, but it would have been a dirt road, and there would have been less vehicles on it. And yeah, alright, here we are. Well, this is where they were coming to. This is where the road got blocked. Bloke jumps out, tries to, let's see if I can do this in one turn. Hang on, people. Alright, that worked out pretty well. Okay, well, here we are. We're at the memorial spot. Alrighty, now we're going to finish off this podcast. Where were we? Everyone, hands up! Bang, bang! James was shot in the heart, killing him. William Hall went for his revolver and let off 2 shots at the robber before being shot in the arm and twice in the chest. Isaac James made a run for it, but he was hit with 2 shots to the leg. Isaac James would be the only survivor in the end. Mr. Manderson and his son were riding their bikes, just coming down from the Runanga turnoff when they heard gunshots. Mr. Manderson told his son to go back to Runanga to get police and a doctor. He then jumped into bushes, peering out to see the masked robber run across the train tracks with the payroll bag in one hand. Mr. Manderson then went down to give first aid. William Hall would later say in hospital that he hit the robber twice and believes he was wearing some kind of body armor. He was in bad shape. A bullet had hit him in the spine, and he died 6 weeks later. The miners in Runanga were upset and sprung into action, hunting for the scoundrel through bush and scrub, but they were unsuccessful. A week later in Christchurch, Frederick William Eggers was arrested. 2 detectives only suspected Frederick and asked what was in his bag. "Oh, nothing of importance. Here, I'll show you." The 2 cops pounced on Eggers, throwing him to the ground. In his bag, they found the revolver he was going for, fully loaded. 100 bullets of ammunition and hundreds of pounds in cash. "You were gonna shoot us, you bastard!" Down at the police station, Frederick William Eggers wasn't saying nothing. He told the cops his name was William McMahon. The cops searched his girlfriend's house and found thousands of pounds. The total of cash found in Frederick's bag and his girlfriend's place was £3,559. That's exactly £100 less than was stolen in the mine's payroll robbery. He declared himself innocent right till the end, when he was found guilty of robbery and murder, and 2 attempt murders. Now these days it would be 2 murders and 1 attempt murder, but I guess back in those days they couldn't make the murder charge stick, because James lasted another 6 weeks in hospital. The judge gave him a death sentence, and Frederick William Eggers, last man to be hung for murder in the South Island, was taken to Littleton Jail to meet his fate. The end. Alright, well, he got killed and pay for his crimes. That was the punishment back then. Hang him. They hung him high. Last man to get hung in the South Island. Let's take a walk. Yep. Driving along there. Road gets blocked. Bang, bang. Scoundrel runs away. Yeah, I'm going to do more of these on location videos. I quite like them. I wanted to do something slightly different. A lot of true crime channels I haven't really necessarily seen do on location stuff. Perhaps some do that I don't know of, but I just wanted to come up with something different that wasn't a lame gimmick, something that, you know, the viewers would enjoy. So anyway, check this out. Erected by the residents of this district to the memory of William Hall and John Coulthard, who met a tragic end at this spot, November the 9th, 1917. On November the 9th, 1917, at the site, a car carrying the state mine payroll, £3,600, was held up. Robbed by Frederick William Eggers, alias William Eggers McMahon. Hall and Coulthard were shot and killed, and Isaac Andy James was wounded but escaped. Eggers was caught, tried and convicted in Christchurch, executed at Littleton Gaol. I think that's the old word for jail, but anyway, he was executed in Littleton on the March of 5th, 1918. He was the last person hanged in the South Island. And there's a picture of a car. It actually looks like a Model T or some kind of old school automobile. Well, there you have it. Some nice old trees up here. Well, anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a good day, everybody.